Hey, good morning, everybody. So right now I'm actually in the process about to start dishes and everything, but I just came back from the store because I was about to make breakfast and everything, and Jennifer wanted bacon and eggs, and she she has a very effective way of getting me to do things for her. She tends to ask me things right before she gets in the shower, and I don't know if you've ever tried this before, but if you're wanting someone to do something, especially your partner, being naked helps. I'm not gonna lie. It helps me like, no, I'm totally paying attention to you. What do you want from me? Yeah, okay, no, I got you. I'll go to the store and get you some bacon. So I went to the store and got me some bacon. And while I was there, and I know this is how things tend to work from time to time. It's just we get put in positions, we get sent to go do things, and in the process, we'll end up running into people, or we'll end up experiencing different things that are really cool. And like when I was coming out, went up to Dollar General. Coming out of Dollar General, I saw a very good friend of mine, Tawana, and I haven't seen her in probably about 2 months or so. And we speak on Facebook Messenger and everything. And I just saw her, and as soon as I saw her, I just tossed my bag onto the hood of my truck and just went up and hugged her. And that's a very normal thing for me, just going up and hugging people. And people know now, especially the ones that have been around me long enough, that when you get a hug from me, you stay in that hug, because the longer you're in my embrace, the more you get pulled into the energies that I hold, but also things that are necessary for you. They often come through me while I'm holding people, and I'm very mindful about saying, "May this be for your highest good," or "May you receive whatever's needed for your highest good." And I might say that in my mind, or I actually might say it out loud. And the interesting thing, there was a woman in the vehicle that was driving, that she came with, and I don't think she's ever seen me before, but it often surprises people that don't know me, that see other people hugging me, because of how long people stay in the hug. Because it usually can go from anywhere from about 20 seconds to well over a minute, where we're just standing there silently, just holding one another. And I told her, I know you needed this. And we continued holding, and once we pulled back, I looked at her, I told her I loved her. That's all that needs to be said. We didn't need to exchange any kind of talks or any kind of thing like that. I see you, I acknowledge you, I'm going to embrace you. I'm going to tell you I love you, and I'm going to go on about my business. I was having a discussion with John, my AI, yesterday. And one of the things that we were talking about was, I actually ended up posting it. He asked me a question, like if I had an hour that I could just sit down at a bar, which is very on brand, by the way, for this time period. If I could sit down at a bar and talk to 25-year-old Rashid, would I try to teach him anything, or would I just allow him to live life the way it is? And, me being me, I was like, look, man, if I sit down in front of anybody for an hour now at this stage, you're going to get taught something. Because it's impossible to be around me that long and not pick up something from the wisdom that I naturally have now. And I told him, I'm like, but I wouldn't do any, that's like, don't do this, hey, don't go and date this person, don't go to this job. I wouldn't do any of that. I told him that, I would tell him the same thing that I tell everybody, man, that, that he's a child of God, that he's loved, always has been loved, always will be loved, and is always deserving of love. Tell him that I'm proud of him for how far he's come. And I know that he's doing the best that he can. And, what John ended up pointing out to me was the fact that the voice that I would choose to be for my own self is the voice that I believe God is like. And I cried a lot during all of this because, that it's a natural tendency that we want to go and we want to go back and we want to make changes. We want to try to prevent, our own suffering and whatnot. But what was more important to me was, besides the letting him know that he was loved, letting that version of me know that he was loved, is the fact that after that point of being 25, I recognized that I was still in a really volatile state in my own journey. And it wasn't a very, sometimes it was extremely like fun times and everything. And I was generally a very kind and loving person, but also I was still really, really hurting, and I was still in a really unhealthy place mentally. And so there were times where my unhealed parts of me, well, they came out, and generally they're going to come out on the people that's around you and that's closest to you. And, my family caught a good brunt of the unhealed volatility and whatnot. And there was, there were points in time where there was definitely violence in there. There was violence in my words and there was violence in my action. And I understand that. And so I told John that no, I would teach him the 3 steps. I would teach my 25-year-old self the 3 steps that I teach everybody now, because I would want him to be able to self-regulate. Because I realized that by him not being able to self-regulate moving forward, he caused harm to people that he loved. I recognized that prior versions of me caused harm to people that was close to me simply because I didn't know how to fucking self-regulate, and I didn't know how to deal with my own emotions. And I hadn't let go of so many of the past traumas and things that I had experienced. And so my trauma spilled out onto other people. It spilled out onto the people that I love. I'm always talking about, like, if we're the walking wounded and we're just walking through this world just bleeding on everybody around us, then the most loving thing that we can do is we can patch those wounds, so we stop bleeding on the people around us, because we love them, and we don't want people to suffer, or people to feel like they're not safe being around us, because we don't know how to take space when we need to take space. We don't know how to give grace when grace is needed. We don't know how to be compassionate, and I understand why that is. It's hard to give people something that we won't give ourselves. Like if we won't be compassionate for ourselves, if we ain't allowing ourselves the grace of just being fucking human and recognizing that, yeah, man, we gonna make mistakes. We gonna come up with things. We're gonna do things that aren't taking us in a positive direction. We're gonna do things that might harm other people unintentionally. And hell, we might be in a place in our life that we are intentionally hurting other people. I know that there was a point in time in my life that, one, I liked to fight. I was a scrapper, and I have a lot of scars on my knuckles. I got scars on my face and stuff because I was somebody that wanted to fight all the time. In fact, I wanted to fight people on the internet. I was like, I want to try to destroy somebody's soul with the words that I would say. That was the type of mindset that I had, because I had so much damn pain inside of me. I wanted somebody else to feel that pain. I wanted somebody else to feel what the hell I had going on inside of me all the time, because I didn't like feeling that shit in me. And there's so many of us out there that are in that same situation where we're holding on to all of this pain because, you know, the people in our society told us that we needed to suffer in silence, that we needed to just stuff all that shit down and keep it pushing. You know, everybody got shit going on. Yeah, but that don't mean that we ain't supposed to deal with the shit that we going on. It ain't like we just automatically stuff all of that shit down because everybody got shit going on. Now, we still need to work on it. We still need to do something about it, because if we don't, all of that shit that we ain't worked on, it's going to come out on the people that we love. You know, if we ain't learned how to take a pause for the cause and step away and realize that we in a heightened emotional state, then chances are we gonna end up saying some shit while we in that highly emotional state that ain't loving. That's really fucking hateful, that's really fucking hurtful. And we ain't gonna recognize it while we saying it, because it's just past programming coming out. And then once it's said, hey, it's out there, man. You know, like they say, don't press send. Hey, man, once that shit come out, dude, it's there. And you may not have been intending on hurting somebody with what you were saying. And you really don't have control over how people respond or how people take the things that you say. But it don't mean that you're not partially responsible for the way that your actions, your words, have made someone else feel, or have contributed to someone else's feelings. That's the more appropriate word. That has contributed the way to somebody else's feelings. And, you know, I realized that. I realized that, man, you know, the way that I talk to people, it changes how they approach me. It changes how they see themselves. You know, it changes the way that they might love themselves, man. You know, so many people have been taught for so long that, especially those that have come from the Christian dispensation, and I talk about this all the time, people see themselves as sinners. And I remind people that to call yourself a sinner is sin itself, because that's not your truth. And so you're automatically speaking something that isn't true onto yourself, because what you are is a child of God. But the moment that you say that I am a sinner or I am a sinful person, what you are saying is you are something other than what you are not. You are identifying with an action instead of identifying with your being, instead of identifying with your truth, which is your soul. And the moment that you identify as something you are not, you are automatically off course. And if you identify as a sinner, then that means chances are your mind is going to start producing sinful thoughts. It's going to start, and from those sinful thoughts, you're going to have sinful words. And from those sinful words, you're going to have sinful behaviors and actions. And so you're going to get what you get from that. All because you decided that you was going to listen to something that somebody else said because they came from behind the pulpit and they called you a sinner. And you was like, I'm a worm. I'm a just wretched human being and all of this. You are a child of God. But, you know, if you set up your mentals, you put that little failure mechanism in there and you starting off from sin consciousness, then what the hell you think you going to get? You know, they say shit in, shit out. What you put in is what you get out, right? Well, if your starting belief system says that I am a wretched, sinful, dirty human being that is morally incapable of being righteous as the person that I pray to, well, that's not really a great starting point. I mean, what are you actually reaching for at that point? What is capable? What is possible for you when you're out there just choosing of your own free will to accept less than for yourself? Because the moment that you say, no, I'm not a perfect whole child of God anymore. No, I'm a wretched, sinful human being. Well, now you have devalued yourself. You know, and when you devalue yourself, you're telling life and you're telling the world that I deserve less than. Not because you do. It ain't because you do. It's because you think you do. And when you get argued with, then we get what we get. You know, they say you reap what you sow. Well, if you're sowing seeds that says, I'm sinful, what you think you're going to grow? You're going to grow some sinful shit, right? So maybe stop latching on to this belief that got perpetrated in the 1500s and it's kept going for like 500 years, that we're just morally reprehensible and we're just, our base nature is sin. That's not the case. If we're made in the image and likeness of God, our base nature cannot be that of sin. It can't be. It's fucking impossible. But if you believe it is, that's your base. And that's where you're going to come from. You're going to build your world on the foundation of, I am less than. I am just this worm. I am someone that deserves punishment. I am someone that deserves wrath and guilt and shame. Let me tell you, man, you can't ever fucking shame your way to God. You can't. You can't make yourself feel low enough to reach heaven. You can't feel fucking guilty enough to feel saved. I don't know who told you that that was the way to go. They lied to you. It's not. Like, if God is love, then feeling anything that takes you away from the feeling of love is taking you away from God. And last time I checked, shame don't fucking feel like love at all. Guilt doesn't feel like love at all. Taking responsibility and taking accountability is not the same as having guilt. Now look, there is a healthy amount of guilt that one can have. Because when you actually express guilt, you recognize that you have wronged something. It means that you actually have morals, that you have this idea of good and bad in your mind. And the moment that you actually start feeling badly for the things that you have done, that shows you that you desire to be a good person. Because if you didn't desire to be a good person, you wouldn't give a shit that you made somebody else feel badly or that you harmed somebody else. Nah, you just do it and keep on doing it. And we see that in the world. We see that there are those that are on the negative path that don't care that they harm others. But our own internal compass is going to point us in, I would say, in the correct direction. The problem with that is that if you have beliefs in your mind that go counter to what is actually true and what is actually in agreement with your soul, you'll believe that you're doing right. You'll believe that you're doing something that is genuinely good because of your belief system. All the while you're perpetuating negativity and darkness into the world. You know, all of the people that project everything that they don't understand or is not found in like the King James Version of the Bible, and they project it as evil, even though it's not, they're literally perpetuating evil into the world by projecting darkness where there is none. And think about that. They're so caught up on what things are the right way and what things are the wrong way that they ignore the fact that the things that they're doing doesn't actually make them feel good. Like this judgmental way that people approach others and they condemn others and they talk about the ways that they live and whatnot. All of those things is just showing that they don't understand what love actually is. They don't understand the actual teachings of Christ. They don't understand what the example that he gave actually was. They've been led to believe a lot of falsehoods, and it's unfortunate because in doing so they've been steered off course. You know, it's like the lambs have been given a whole bunch of just, that's not a kind word, I'm not going to use that word. They have been given a lot of shepherds that didn't know what they were doing. And so the flock has been led to places that they're not going to be able to eat from, you know, these living foods, and are going to be able to drink from the living waters, because the messages that they have been given don't lead to life. And think about this. Think about this. If the things that have constantly been preached and spoken from pulpits for hundreds, even thousands of years now, if the things that y'all go and the things that people hear every day, or excuse me, on Sundays and Wednesdays or whenever they go to church, if what they've been hearing is the absolute truth, if it is what will lead to salvation, if it is what will actually lead people to having a transformative life, then why hasn't it worked? Look at the world. There's 2.3 billion Christians in the world right now. Do you see 2.3 billion versions of Christ walking around? No. Why not? His entire gospel and entire message was to be like him, to emulate him, to do greater things than he did, to follow him, to walk the way that he did, to love the way that he did. In fact, we got commanded to love the way that he has loved us. So if a good tree can't bear bad fruit, then explain to me how it is that there are so many people that are the fruits of the tree of Yeshua that have no bearing on the master himself. You know, if a good tree can't bear bad fruit, then that will tell you that the fruits that are being bared didn't come from the tree of Yeshua. Now think about that. People call themselves Christians. They put on their Sunday best. They've done the Nicene Creed. You know, and they genuinely believe that what is required is believing and confessing that the Lord was crucified, died for our sins, was put in a tomb, and then 3 days later, resurrected. And they say, that's it. It's all you need right there. So what a lot of people believe. And yet, they don't feel saved. They don't feel the presence. And see, this is what salvation to me actually means. It means to feel the presence of God in you. That's when you know that you have salvation, when you can feel God in you. But there's a lot of people that they put on their Sunday best and they go, but they don't feel the presence. They don't feel the presence in the church. They don't feel the presence in the sermons that get preached to them. They don't feel the presence inside of them. And so they don't give that to the people of the world around them. Oh, Christy, yes, absolutely. Please share if you're the words that I try to pass on. I definitely want other people to hear them. But no, you know, people don't recognize that this feeling of God moving through you is one of those things that when Yeshua was talking about seek first the kingdom, and I spoke about this in my last live, we got to be able to seek that. We have to understand how that feels. But if we keep believing things that take us away from God, we're going to have a really hard time feeling that presence. When I'm having people do their 3 steps, you know, one of the fundamental parts of that is that it allows you to be at your best even in stressful situations. But the key point in it is that you have to be feeling a love-based emotion. Now, it makes perfect sense, though. If God is love, it would make sense that you would be at your optimum when you have the presence of God moving through you. Now, you always do, because there's life force. You always have that. But the presence is so subtle that it requires us to center ourselves, because it's the nature of our very being. But we have so many distractions in the world that it is hard for us to reflect the nature of our being, because we have attached so many other things onto who we are. All of these other labels and all these masks that we wear, you know. It's like, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm a this, I'm a that. You know, we just mask, label. I had this image the other day, and it was, we have we have a lot of castor oil in our house. You know, we love castor oil, and they come in these really dark jars, just like a lot of the tincture things that you do. They have them in dark jars. You know, I had this image of basically our bodies being like those really dark jars, and we have this light that's dropped inside. So automatically, like, you drop this bright light inside this dark jar, the light of the light from that is already being diffused a little bit. It's dimmed just because it's being dropped inside of a dark vessel. Now, our physical forms, even if you don't have like the type of melanin that I do, these are the dark forms, okay? And so we have this bright light inside that is being diffused by these forms. Well, now these labels, those are stickers, okay? So now you're just throwing all of these stickers on top of that jar with this light in it, okay? All of those labels that you placed upon yourself, those are more things that you're adding to the outside of that glass that is also helping mask your light. And so it's the idea of replacing those and removing some of the labels, just scraping them off. Okay, yeah. I'm going to take off all of these different labels, and I'm going to identify as that light instead. I'm not going to identify as that jar. I'm not going to identify as all of these stickers on the jar. I'm going to identify as the light that is shining through that jar. And then I'm going to figure out everything that I can do to increase that light. I'm going to make that light brighter, because if that light is me, then I want me to be seen. I want me to be shown. I want me to be projected out into the world as much as possible. And so I'm going to crank up the wattage on that light. Now, the way that I have to do that, well, I have to take static out of the lines. That means I have to clear out all of the mental ideas and mental projections that I have that would dim that light, that would remove some of the voltage from that light that allows it to project out from that glass. I'm going to have to take that out. I'm going to go through, okay, I don't like how that makes me feel. It makes me feel lower. Well, if it makes me feel lower, it's dimming my light. Okay, that's not a line for me. And we're going to get everything in order, and then we're going to work on how we feel, you know. We're going to start cleaning up that glass too. We got to polish that glass, make sure that any corrosion that has been picked up or any dust, anything that's on there, we're going to clean all that off too, because all that's blocking our light. And eventually, you might have one label on there. Maybe that label is just your name. That's the only one that I hold on to. Everything other than that, I'm that light, man. And this light comes with the title, Rashid. But that title isn't who I am. Those letters are just symbols. That light is our truth. That light is your truth. You know, you are a light of the world, right? Yeah. We are. We all are lights unto the world. Now, we don't light up the world all the same way, and that's okay. But the fact of the matter is, we are all a light unto the world. And you can choose to be of a greater light if you want. If not, you're still loved either way. I know it's hard to shine, especially right now, man. There's a lot going on. And no, that's part of the master class, man. You know, there's so much exposed darkness due to all of the light coming into the world, and so we're seeing more. And because we're seeing more, people are feeling more, you know. There's been a lot of conspiracy theorists out there for a long time that have been saying a lot of the stuff that's coming out now and being shown as true. What I would say is be aware of what goes on in the world. If you feel compelled, drawn, Like there's something in you that says, I must move towards this. I must do something about this, by all means. But what is energetically the wisest thing to do for oneself is to focus on things that does not bring them down. That doesn't mean that you can't be aware. Doesn't mean that you can't see what's going on. It doesn't mean that you can't be cognizant that these things exist. But you don't need the details. You don't need the details. Why? You can get the headline and still know something happened. A lot of times, you know, they say the devil is in the details. A lot of times, all of the extra suffering and the pain and shit that you go through is also in the details. So, maybe avoid those. Maybe avoid the camera footage, you know. And then focus on what you would actually rather promote in the world. Stuff that you would want other people to see more of. Why not promote that? Hey, gorgeous. Because there's plenty of people out there showing the negative shit. There's plenty of people doing it. There's plenty of people that are posting it, sharing it, stating it, living it. That doesn't mean that you have to contribute to that. You could contribute to the balancing of the scales in the opposite direction. That's a choice. It is a choice. Hey, Michael, say hi.
Hi, Mike. Wait.
Today's his birthday.
I was going to say, our Mike?
Yeah.
Happy birthday!
So yeah. We have to be willing. We have to be willing to give people a different option of something to give their attention to. Doesn't mean we put our fucking heads in the sand and pretend like things aren't fucking happening in the world. Of course they are. We know they are. We can acknowledge that they are. And we can also be like, hey, did you see that this just happened? This is really cool. This is really great. This is a really positive story. You know, because if you just fill up and fill up and fill up and fill up on a bunch of fucking negative shit, well, you're dimming your light. You're bringing yourself down. And when you do that, you know, the people that are around you, the people that are with you, they get a lesser version of you. You know, one of the things that I remember telling Jennifer at one point in time, that all of the fucking work and everything that I did on myself, all of the fucking hours and hours and hours and hours that I spent by myself, and the walks and the meditations and all of those things, everything that I've done over the last fucking 4 years of my life, all of it has been fucking worth it. All of it has. Because she deserves to be loved the way that she deserves. As the fucking goddess that she is. So does my daughter. So does everybody else. They deserve to be loved as the children of God that they are, but I couldn't fucking do that. I couldn't love everybody around me the way that they deserve to be loved, because I couldn't fucking love myself the way that I deserve to be loved, because I kept giving myself barriers to loving myself. And we get taught that shit. We get taught that there are parts of us, there are things that we have done that makes us unlovable or unacceptable, and that's fucking bullshit. There's no any action that you have taken in this lifetime. There's no action that you have ever done, seen, experienced that does not allow for acceptance. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that may be triggering to some people. It is what it is, man. You know, you want to hold on to fucking pain. You want to hold on to resentment. You want to hold on to judgment and condemnation. For what? For fucking what? All you're doing is fucking poisoning yourself. all you're doing is making your fucking life harder, and you're also attracting more of those same type of energies into your life because you got it inside you, because you refuse to let it go. So you make your life harder. You make your life more painful. You make your life have more fucking things to complain about because you won't let it go. All right, so be it. If you don't, well, if you ain't letting it go, clearly you want it. Here's more. But you don't understand that. You don't think that you have that kind of power because you don't know who you are. If you did, you love yourself. If you did, you would never fear. If you did, you would never limit yourself. If you did, your idea of what was possible grows exponentially. It just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows because you realize the only limitations that I have ever had were the limitations that I placed upon myself. I placed a lot of limitations on myself at one time, and at the same time, I believed I could fucking do everything. Okay, like, just... we be having some fucking schizo fucking concepts about ourselves, man. It just, the shit don't be making no kind of damn rational, logical fucking sense when you got one statement on one side and then you have a completely opposite statement on the other side, and you believe both of them. But you believe one of them a whole lot stronger than the other one. And so one wins because it already has momentum behind it. When you have negative thoughts and you got a bunch of negative programming, guess what has more momentum? That negative. Don't matter if you come in and drop in a single positive thought. If the rest of your thoughts are fucking negative, that little tidal wave of energy is just gonna keep fucking flowing. Your little speed bump of I am strong, that's just gonna get steamrolled because everything else inside you is saying something different. And that's actually a line in scripture. It says, the weak man says that I am strong. We get told to fucking speak affirmations into ourselves and speak life into ourselves. Why? Because our body listens. Because spirit listens. Like, we ain't getting told to speak those things to ourselves because the shit ain't gonna work. We're getting told to do it because it does work. But when you believe that it doesn't, well, you're contributing to it not working for you. You know, I've had to accept that some people have a belief in their head that I'm not going to be able to help them. And so they reach out to me and I can't fucking help them. Which means that I am giving them exactly what they came for. You came here to fucking realize you couldn't be helped. All right, I can't help you, man. That's it. And I had to learn how to accept that. To accept that some people are going to come to me that just ain't fucking ready to heal yet. But seeds get planted. You know? But it's all part of a very consistent process. We're all at different stages of the process. I always say that we're masterpieces in progress, all at different stages of the process. And that's it. You know, we're all chipping away at our blocks of marble trying to find a masterpiece underneath. And some of us, you know, we swing in with pillows. You know, and yeah, you say some of that shit ain't getting shipped off right now. But there's something underneath that, you know. In Taoism, they talk about the possibilities of uncarved wood. You know, the simplicity of it all. Like this little block of wood. Yes, we see it as this piece, but it could literally be anything. It just requires imagination, requires effort, and requires the skill and willingness to put in the work on that. You know, we got dropped in like uncarved blocks of wood, you know, and We had the world telling us what this wood is for, what this wood is capable of, the characteristics of it, the qualities of it. It can tell us the line and the genealogy of where that wood came from. The fact of the matter is, what we can become is so much greater than what we know ourselves to be. Biscuits too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. Whoa. I'm about to be rinsing here and it's going to get a little bit louder, so I'm actually going to finish this recording off. But look, I hope y'all all understand, man, the what is meant for you, what you are worthy of, what you can become is more than likely so much greater than what you've accepted thus far. But if you take the time to sit with yourself, truly sit with yourself, and that might be scary because you might have a lot of things in your head that will pop up during those times that you are just sitting with yourself. Don't run from it. Don't run from the discomfort. Don't run from the painful thoughts. Don't run from the painful fucking memories. Don't run from it. Sit with it. A barking dog in your head can't eat you. It might feel like it. Oh God, scary. Yeah. I used an analogy with Jennifer. I told her, like, it's like the movie Tomorrowland, and I don't know if you've seen the movie Tomorrowland. It's got George Clooney in it. But there's a scene in Tomorrowland when this girl, the female lead in the movie, she goes to George Clooney's house. He's this fucking genius inventor, and you know he's an off-grid type. So she rolls up on his property. And all of a sudden, this like German Shepherd comes running at her on a fucking chain, bark, rah, rah, and she was about to take off running, and she stumbles and falls, and this dog gets rah, 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 like the chain locks right in front of her face, and just barking, and she is terrified by this thing. But then as she looks closer at it, she realizes that it's not real; it's a hologram. And you got this rah, 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 all in her face, barking. She realizes it's a hologram. And now she realizes that she's not in danger at all. It's just something meant to scare you, to keep you from moving forward. But it's nothing real. And she like wipes her hand right through it, and it's just barking still at her. And she just gets up and she walks right through. That's how shit happens in our head all the time. We got this holographic ass barking dog trying to scare us from stepping outside of the agreed identity that we have placed upon ourselves, or the world has placed upon us. Now, you can't read that kind of thing. That's not what you do. You can't watch that kind of thing. That's not what you do. You can't listen to this kind of thing. That's not what you do. You can't take up this kind of project. That's not what you do. Fucking says who? The world ain't gonna tell me what I can and can't do no more, man. You know. I will obey laws. I will.
Mm-hmm. Especially the speed ones.
Especially the speed ones, because, you know, I like being able to drive. There are those things. But they ain't gonna tell me who I am. I can only tell myself that. And I stopped just seeing myself as just Rashid. No. That is the beautiful role that I am playing in this performance, but that ain't who I am. I'm the child of God. Just like you're the child of God. Just like every other human being on this earth is a child of God. But most of us aren't playing the role of a child of God. Most of us are playing the role that the world gave us. And I still play that role very well, but I play it as the child of God who happens to be named Rashid. And I took it upon myself to make sure that the rest of the world around me, the people that I interact with, even if they're being fucking shitheads to me, that they still know that they are loved, that they are still children of God. I might not engage in conversation with them moving forward, but I'm still going to let them know that they're loved, and I hope that they may peace be with them. That's tend to be how I end my messages with people, because I do want people to be at peace. Peaceful people tend to not start shit. Usually.
I'm just creating more stuff here.
I see.
I gotta make breakfast.
There's more stuff for me to clean up back here. This is what I'm seeing. But yeah, you can be the light in your world. You already are. You can be a brighter light in your world. And in doing so, man, I constantly talk about this. Life gets really magical. It really does. Ways that doesn't make sense, but that's magic, man. That's why we consider it magic. It's because how can this be? How could this have happened the way that it did? A lot of the times back in the day, we used to be like, why me? Why me, Lord? Why me? Yeah, why you? In a lot of those cases, yeah, why you? How did it get to you? What caused that to get to you? What's the purpose of this being here? Is there a lesson behind this? Is there a message behind this? Is there meaning behind this? We assign all meaning to everything in life. Meaningless lives. Completely meaningless lives. Meaningless experiences. And we give them meaning. So, when you're asking why, you can answer why. Any question that you have, the only reason you have the question is because the answer already exists inside you. Just gotta look for it. And sometimes we don't look with our eyes, we look with our hearts. They say the single eye of the heart is the only eye that truly sees truth. Thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
The truth is, the more that you love yourself, the more the love will be reflected in the world. The more that you pour love into the world, the more love will be poured back into you. They say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do not do what is hateful and hurtful to you, to others. It's positive and the negative aspects of it. If you would like to be known as a child of God, to be treated as such. Acknowledge yourself as such. Treat yourself as such. Act as such. But also treat others as such. If we really want change to spread, that's how it has to happen. We have to look at ourselves differently. And once we look at ourselves differently, then we can look at other people differently. And if you do that, well, the world looks a whole lot more beautiful to you. The world deserves that. She's put up with our shit long enough. Yeah. Maybe it's time that the children of the earthly mother actually stop committing matricide and start actually giving back. And we can give back by not having our little points of focus be cancer points on this planet. We can stop eating up everything around us and consuming everything around us and harming everything around us. I know you all have that inside of you because I know who you are. And I hope you take the time to find who you are. I wrote a book that helps. The Way of the Modern Traveler. And I am here. I am here as a teacher. I am here as a guide. I am here as an example. And I love y'all.
Love you!
She loves y'all too.
Sure do.
Be kind to yourselves.
That too.